Every episode of No Offsides podcast is brought to you by Champion Hockey. Be a champion.
No offside.
Welcome back for another episode of No Offsides, where we like to talk roller hockey. Sponsored by Champion Hockey. Our guest tonight woke up extra early for us for this episode. He is one of the founders of Wheel Hub Asia. He's what we like to call a coach of the future. Dom, thanks for joining us, man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. And it's definitely worth getting up early in the morning to chat to you guys.
Yeah,
I
man, you're on
appreciate
the
it.
opposite side of the planet.
Yeah, Justin, I didn't introduce us because, you technical difficulty,
They know who we are.
yeah.
Our names are up here.
Yeah. So, but Dom, we found you. We found Wheel Hub Asia on Instagram, and we fell in love with all y'all's content and everything that you guys post, and the kind of the hype around you guys last year, and male female teams you guys brought over, especially for Narch, it was insane, right? And so I'm just I'm going to start off with here, how did Wheel Hub Asia come to be?
Right. Well, first of all, thanks so much for those kind words. I mean, we do what we can. So to be recognized by people like yourself is really awesome for us. Basically, Wheel Hub Asia came around. We found that a lot of players in Hong Kong, especially, we were ordering wheels from the US and from brands or from Hockey Monkey, places like that, and we just found that it was quite expensive to order wheels. And then what would you do? You would to make the shipping worthwhile, you'd always add a few more items. So we're like, why don't we have a place in Asia, in Hong Kong, where players can buy wheels and kind of cut out that middleman and speak to the people at the brands, the wheel brands who we built relationships with over the years, and try to just make it cheaper for players in Hong Kong and Asia to buy wheels. But obviously part of that was the fact that we also wanted to build a community, and I think the roller hockey community is pretty tight wherever you are in the world, which is something that we love about it. So yeah, me and two of the boys that I play with and that I used to coach decided to set up Wheel Hub Asia. The main, I guess, the first aspect being a kind of store where players can buy high quality brands for decent prices, and then secondly, build that community side of it, because we're all players. We created it for players by players, not really to make money, because I don't think you're going to make millions in roller hockey unless you're one of a small percentage.
Yeah.
We did it because we just wanted to help the players out and save money ourselves as well. It saves us on shipping stuff over from the States. So yeah, that's how it kind of came about, really. And this was in 2019. And then from there, it kind of grew. We decided to, are we going to send teams to tournaments? Are we going to try to run our own little kind of tournaments and leagues, and it kind of just grew, and it was really organic, which was good. You know, we didn't put a lot of money into it. We got less money out. So yeah, we're not doing it for profit. It's more just for community building and just to meet new people and keep playing the sport as long as we can.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome because like it's something as simple as like, hey, you know, we just want people to have lesser expensive gear and stuff like that. That just creates the community feel that you talk about. And I mean, you meet people one time in roller hockey community, and I feel like you just kind of like know them for the rest of existence. And then it's just like, hey, what's up, man? It's like, oh, what's up, dude? And you know, you just kind of the interactions can be brief, but also just, you know, memorable at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of why Justin and I decided we kind of wanted to exist, because we want people to share their interactions, and we want people to share their stories. And we just want people to just be known that are, you know, whether, you know, you're in North America or you're in Asia or Europe, you know, we want people to just share what they got going on. You know, it's kind of why it's why we became No Offsides podcast, right? Is, you know, we want to find groups like, you know, Will Hub Asia, and we want to know about you, and we want to know, you know, how y'all are growing the game, and, you know, what you guys are doing for the youth, and what tournaments you guys are going to, because that's just what the sport's about.
Yeah, I
Right?
100% agree. Yeah.
Well, Dom, you're a Welsh native, right?
Yes, correct. Yes.
So were you playing roller in Great Britain?
Yes. So I started. I think I was about 10 or 11 where the second Mighty Ducks film came out, and a group of mates just decided to get some skates and go and play in a pub car park. And it started there. I mean, there was nothing really kind of organised back in Swansea, is the state that I'm from, in Wales at that point. So we were just playing car parks and stuff. And then there was like a leisure centre that had a setup where you would go, and there'd be 50 kids there, all in like bike helmets and, you know, recreational skates, and the wooden Franklin sticks with the plastic blade that didn't have a curve, you know, those kind of things. And, you know, we'd go back and there'd be one coach, and he would coach all 50 kids and then split them into teams, and we'd have a mini tournament. And that was about as organized as it was back then. And then it kind of grew from there. And there was, you know, like 8 clubs within Swansea, and it kind of snowballed. And then went into ice for a little bit, but, you know, roller was my first true love. So always stuck with roller. And then went on to coach our kind of regional team, the Welsh, what was be classed as the Super League team in the under thirds, or World Skate now. And then kind of made my way up and got selected for the Great Britain team at 19 and 20 in 2003, 2004. And that's where it went from there. And then after that, I coached Great Britain from 2007 till about 2011. And then that's what brought me to Hong Kong.
Because of the world tournament, and you're just like, I'm staying here?
So I was coaching at the AAU Junior Olympics in, it would have been in Huntington Beach in California.
Okay.
In 2011. And I was with the Great Britain team at the time, and the Hong Kong team were there. And I knew the coach of the Hong Kong team from, he grew up playing in the UK as well. And he just said, you know, Dom, do you fancy coming to Hong Kong? We need coaches. Do you fancy it? And I was like, wow, yeah, I do, but I need to speak to my wife first. You know, I don't think she'd be too happy with me just jumping on a plane and moving halfway around the world. But yeah, and at the time I was coaching as a hobby, and I was working in a call center, and they were basically offering to pay me to do something I love doing, and that's coaching. So I spoke to my wife and my family, and my wife said, yeah, go for it. You know, what's worst that can happen is if you're not getting along with it, you just move back. And that was 2011. And then she moved out in the July 2012. And then, we've been here ever since.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, like, I'm sure you guys have probably had the same experience with roller hockey. It's taken me all around the world. It's made me the best of friends. I've met people, you know, I've spoken to people online, like people like Peter Dale I've been speaking to online since 2011. And I met him for the first time last summer, but it's like I already knew him.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's it's just that as wide as roller hockey can be globally, it is just it goes back to that. It's just a small, tight knit community,
Yeah.
right? And all you need to do is just talk about hockey in general, and boom, you just have probably an hour long or more conversation with someone that then just spreads into like, hey man, I'm Dan Dean, how you doing? And it's just like from there on, you practically know the person because then you're sharing life stories and where you play and and stuff like that. So
Yeah. I think it's
So
from my perspective, I think it's a little bit different to the ice community as well. I think because I think anyone that plays roller has been through that struggle of competing with ice and trying to raise money to go to tournaments, and everyone it almost feels like you've got that kind of in common with each other. And we know that we're not as big as ice, and we always maybe not have that chip on our shoulder, but we always kind of work a little bit harder, I think, to for our sport. So I think that's another thing about the roller community is I feel it's a bit tighter because there's less opportunities maybe for roller players. So we kind of pull together a bit closer.
Well, and you talk about like, ice hockey is a lot bigger globally, right? And they're in the Olympics, whereas roller hockey is in Worlds, but it's not in the Olympics. So and you get other sports in that you're like, who plays that sport? Right. And it's just like, but that's an Olympic sport, right? Where it's, you sit there and you have professional leagues in Europe and, you have roller hockey, but it's still not. And there's a big circuit in North America, but it's not even in the Olympics. So you're like, what do we have to do to get this sport in the Olympics?
I think it's down to politics, isn't it? Having that, one organizing body, and it's something that's maybe way above what we can sort out. I think it's one of the things that the people in charge need to collaborate maybe a bit more and sacrifice a little bit of power for the benefit of the sport. But I think that's probably a discussion for another episode.
You don't want to touch that one?
No.
So let's get into coaching the teams you have for Wheel Hub now.
Yeah.
I know you guys have a team that played and won Narch Silvers, right?
Yes.
I was going to say you had a team that played in Silvers, but you had a bunch of teams though, right? That played all throughout every division.
Yes. Yeah. We had 14 teams. And we had players from 27 different countries, 120 players, I believe, in total, or just around 120 in total. That was a big, a big project for us. We went with the Hong Kong team in 2012 to the Narch in San Jose. After playing in Huntington Beach, we went up to San Jose, up or down San Jose. My geography is terrible, but we played in San Jose, which was awesome, and the kids loved it, and I loved it as well as a coach. And some of those players that played in 2012 kept nagging me, when are we going to go back to Narch? When are we going to go back to Narch? And one of those guys actually is one of my partners in Wheel Hub. And I said, we'll go back. We will go back. And then last year was the year we're like, let's do it. Let's pull the pin. Let's try. And we start off with 6 teams. And then people kept, do you have an under-14s team? Or do you have an under-8s team? And we're like, we can. And as I kind of, projected for 6 teams, and then people kept asking, and then we ended up with 3 men's teams and an over 30 team and an over 40 team, which it kind of blew my mind. We had people from, like I said, 27 different countries wanting to come play with us, players from Colombia, players from Australia, and everywhere in between. It was pretty incredible. Really, really good summer. I think those tournaments for us are kind of, the pinnacle of roller hockey, from our experience. And, we want to try and do more of those things. We're looking at kind of state wars and those kind of things and seeing if we can combine, because it's a long way for us to come as well. So we're trying to see if we can combine that trip and do maybe 2 tournaments or something next time we go. So, but we're looking to go back in 2025. We're already making plans for that, even though it's over a year, a year away. But I think because we're so far away and people need sort of visas and things like that, it's just easier to get done sooner than later.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing is like it's not like a I'm just gonna hop on a plane and go, right? So
yeah.
it's gets a little more complicated than that, and especially, hey, it's also, is your passport up to date, right? So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I looked at, if anyone's watching, go to the Wheel Hub Instagram page, Wheel Hub Asia, right? Click on their Narch 23 highlights, and you can just check out. There's video, there's clips, there's pictures. There's ranging all the way from youth to men's. Do you even have a women's team?
Yeah.
And there's just it is, and it's why we're having technical difficulty. That's what I took time to just kind of look at, and it was worth the watch. I can tell you that much. Kids playing, adults playing, enjoying, roller hockey. There were some championships in there. There's nothing bigger than a smile after winning a nice big giant trophy like Narch's. So, I mean, it is definitely, like I said, I enjoyed every single one of those clips in there.
Yeah, no, it was pretty special, especially like you said, for the kids. Just seeing the under sixes won silver and under eights won gold. Just seeing the excitement that they throwing their helmets up in the air at the final buzzer, and they don't care if it's going to come down and hit somebody else. They're just in the moment. And like I said, we had kids from like Taiwan, from Hong Kong, from North America, from Australia, all playing on the same team, and they never trained together, never played together before, but they made friends for life, and they're still in WhatsApp. The parents are still chatting to each other in the WhatsApp chat groups, talking about 2025. And I think that's what it's about, is just making those lifelong friends. And all my best friends are through hockey. So creating those kind of memories for the kids and coming away with a medal is really nice. But even if they hadn't, just the things they learned at that tournament and the fun they had. And I remember vividly one game, I think it was against Dangle Dojo in one of the games, might be under 6 or under 8. And I think we were up by quite a few goals, and Ethan decides to put the whole bench on, and the ref looks at me and I was like, oh, let him go. So I put on all our kids. So we had like about 30 kids on the rink playing, and the ref just looking at us and like, well, just let him play. The game was done. It was just a bit of fun. But just like things like that was really cool.
Did you feel like I can't remember his name in the movie now, but the coach in Mighty Ducks? You got all these guys from all these different places. You're trying to wrangle them together, figure out how to make it work.
Yeah, a little bit like that. I mean, I didn't have to tie them all together, make them skate around the rink, but no, it was kind of trying to find those kind of pair partnerships and stuff. In the first game was just like, okay, you play with this kid, okay, no, you play with that kid, and just for me, I didn't really mind if we didn't even win a game or win a championship. That wasn't a goal for that. It was our first one. It would have been nice to come back with some medals for sure. But, because ultimately, if we get a bit more success and more people will want to come and play. But all the parents mentioned, it wasn't about the games that they won. It was about the experience that they had with the team and the friendships they made. And I had a great team of coaches as well. So that was it was great. It was all in all a really, really awesome experience, and that's why we want to do it as often as we can. But I think every year is a bit too ambitious at the moment.
Okay, I mean, you got out there and you had a lot of interest, and like you said, you want to show what you got, and you want to come home with some hardware so you can be like, hey, like you can be a part of this, right?
Yeah.
You can make. I mean, you could even be like, look at all this chat. It's still going for a year, right? And like these people loved it, And I just think like, one of the hardest things I feel, even just as a player, and you could probably say this as a coach, but like you said, like you talked about, getting these kids that never play with each other, even as an adult, trying to mash a team together or throw together a team is difficult to try and do something in just a short. I mean, you got what, 3 round robin games, and then hopefully find the chemistry and hopefully make playoffs. Like that's tough, man.
Yeah, it was. I mean, and that was with basically all of our teams. I mean, I tried to keep players that came from, say, Australia. I tried to keep them on the same team as much as I could. Players from we had some players from Colombia, so I wanted to keep them on the same team because all of our players played in 2 age groups. So I say most players played in 2 age groups, so they had an opportunity to maybe build a little bit of chemistry. again, the teams weren't exactly the same across the ages. So we had some of our 12s playing up to 14s, so I would try and keep those 12s together, either as a pair or a line. But yeah, it is difficult. I mean, you've got 3 games against teams that have been playing together for maybe at least a year, that have qualified to be at Natch finals, and we come in with like a Mighty Ducks team who's never played together. But yeah, we went out there to have fun, and we definitely did that.
Now, there was one of those highlights in the highlight reel of which team was down 3-0 and tied it up after
that was my team.
Timeout.
That was
okay.
That was the team I was playing on. That was our men's white team. So that was in the silver division, silver men's, and that was I think our first round robin game, and it was against the Buzz, who ironically our black team ended up beating in the final 1-0. So that was such a funny game. We were down 3-0, pulled it back to 3-2, and we had a power play with I think 5 seconds to go. So we called a timeout. We're like, okay, who can take face-offs? Who's good at face-offs? So one of our players I can do face-offs. Okay, just get the puck to me. I'll put it across. And we had 2 lefties. So I said, and we had 2 big shooters. So I was like, okay, I'll get to you guys. The rest of us just drive the net. And it was literally so funny because it worked. It just kind of came off, and you see players on the side of the ring like banging and cheering, and it was probably like one of the best moments of my hockey career. But it was just so fun that it's one of the things you see in the movies. It was like a Mighty Ducks play, like last play of the game, we've pulled the goalie, it's 5 seconds to go, face off in the offensive zone, and I was just laughing. I was skating over to the guys, with celebrating. I skated over. I was like, it's just like we drew it up on the board. Just like we drew it. But yeah, it was just, that was unreal. That was pretty cool to kind of come back from 3-0 down and tie it the way we did.
Yeah, and like I said, it was just something that, like, because it wasn't even y'all that posted it. It was Canadian Inline. That posted it, and then you reshared it and saved it on your highlight, and I was like, because they put it on there like, this is not Canadian, but this is like awesome or something like that.
I remember they were looking for like Canadian specific plays, and they'd seen that, and I was like, we're not from Canada, but I was like, feel free, if you want to share it, that'd be awesome. Because I think Nart shared it initially, and they put the song by, I can't remember who is it by. There's a song in the background, Radiohead, Creep, or something like that. And and I was listening to, and then I watched that video. It must have been 1,000 times, just watching it over and over again, just saying like, I can't believe it actually worked.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Now, talking about just like Will Hub Asia and hockey in Asia, right?
Yeah.
I mean, do you guys like travel much in Asia and go to like, whether you're just in a centralized location, or do you play teams from like other countries? Or
yes, we try to support obviously hockey in Asia as well. So that's why we're trying to do like the every other year thing in North America, where we can, in the years in between, we'll do something in Asia, because ultimately we're based here. We want the the talent, the quality and the quantity of players to grow here. So we go to Cambodia every year, which is a really cool tournament. The rink there is insane. I don't know whether there must be some pictures on our Instagram of that, but amazing rink. One of the probably nicest rinks I've seen. It's in in a big bubble, run by I think it's owned by the Canadian school, but it's one of these ones with like a high full plexi on one side against the balls, and you can see the game really well. So we do that one, which is every January. We just recently ran our college prospect camp in Taiwan, and actually I don't know whether you guys heard about there's an earthquake in Taiwan a couple of days ago, and so just I wanted to take a few seconds just to so obviously hockey in Taiwan is amazing. It's really good. The programs they've got are awesome, and just want to say that we hope that everyone is safe. I know that Taiwan is is kind of built to withstand decent earthquakes. But yeah, I just wanted to send our thoughts out to everyone in Taiwan at the moment, because there's a lot of people that have lost their lives and are missing and injured, and people have lost homes and stuff. But so yeah, I just wanted to let everyone in Taiwan know we're thinking of them. So yeah, but, the college prospect camp we did in March was our first one in the Asia Pacific region. We played in a rink underneath a highway, which was pretty special. It was really cool just rocking up and seeing this rink. It's like, oh man, it's really cool. And we thought, oh, is the floor going to be okay? And the floor was it was spot on. It was it was wicked. But there's a lot of rinks like that in Taiwan, just like random rinks underneath highways and stuff. And these kids will train there a few times a week. And what's interesting is back a couple of years ago when the juniors won the World Championships, and a lot of people saying, oh, this such a surprise. And I was like, well, it's not for me, because I've seen that these kids have been playing on those teams for about 10 years, training together. The facilities they've got may not be the kind of rinks like in Irvine or Corona, but they have the rinks. And they're out there training, and a lot of them will start in speed skating, so they're very quick. Then they transition into hockey, so there's a kind of development pathway for them there. But they've got these rinks all over the place, and they train. And the way the national team is selected, it's not actually like a tryout where players from different clubs will come together and make up the national team. If your team wins the national championships, then you are the national team. So it's basically cool. It's basically like a club team, which is good because those kids play together for years and years and years. But also you've got players, maybe 2 or 3 players from other teams that are amazing that maybe may not make the national team, which is kind of frightening if you had all the the top players from each team playing on the same team together. It would be pretty special. Yeah.
But I mean, it's nice because it probably creates more hockey, because you need to do some sort of tournament to get that best team, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, in a way, I like the system. What you said is that you're not getting the best players from the region to that tournament, right?
Yeah.
But it seemed to have worked out regardless, because you're talking about the Chinese Taipei team?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, because they steamrolled in Worlds. Like I mean, people that I knew were watching were like, damn, like they're putting a hurting on teams. I watched a good amount of their games, and I was like, they can play, man.
And you look at them and they're not physically big, but they're just quick. They were so quick. But yeah, I'm hoping that with this college prospect camp now, we can get a few more of these kids across to where kids from Australia, Korea, Taiwan. We can get some of those across to play in the collegiate system, and then go from there. So that's our kind of plan with the college prospect camp. In terms of tournaments, there was meant to be one in Taiwan, I think around 2020, but obviously COVID put an end to that. So yeah, we haven't traveled a lot in the last couple of years, but in 2019 we did a tournament in Malaysia, or we went to a tournament in Malaysia, which has been around for, I believe, 10 years as well. So there are a few tournaments around, which we try to support as much as we can. But yeah, it's just, I mean, this for me and the other guys at Wheel Hub, it's not like a job. It's more of a hobby, if you like. So we have full-time jobs, we have families and stuff like that, and sometimes it's difficult to get the time off work. But yeah, we try what we can.
Yeah. I mean, and it seemed like the prospect camp had a bunch of sponsors hop on board, right?
Oh yeah.
And which is great, because it's helping y'all improve and do more things, which is kind of, that's the roller community, right? I'm glad there, you had North American companies supporting the Farm Tough, was it the Wheel Hub Farm Tough Hockey College Prospect Camp, which I mean, that seems to be a lot more going on, which is great for the sport and also great for getting kids a gateway into college and stuff like that. So, it's, I'm sitting here looking at the sponsors here, which were, was it? Oh,
we had a champion hockey, US Roller Cup, Wheel Talk Hockey, and Atom Education. So yeah, we had. To be fair, those 4 companies they helped us out massively because, like you say, 3 out of 4 of those are kind of North American companies, and they're sponsoring something going on in Asia that there's we're under no illusions. There's bigger programs than us. There's more. Companies can make a better return on investment with other programs maybe, but they took a chance with us and they helped us create those opportunities for the kids in Asia Pacific region, which was awesome. I mean, without the help of those sponsors, we wouldn't have been able to kind of pay for those kids to go across to the final camp in June. So it's really, it does, like you say, it's the roller community comes together, and they were very generous with helping us out with, being able to create these potentially life-changing opportunities for these kids, which is amazing for us. Like if some of those kids get picked up and play in the collegiate system in the States, then that's our job done, right? That's what we want to do. So and they made it possible. So I just want to thank those sponsors again, because like I say, without them, it would have been, we wouldn't have been able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see because like I said, it's bridging two regions together, right? And we get to, and it's a lifetime experience for a lot of these kids. Can you walk us through how the selection goes for College Prospect Camp, and then what's the next step after the Asia Pacific Camp?
Sure. Okay. So we had 30-something players at the camp. So it was myself. Our coaching team was myself as the guy Sean Tak from Korea, who was also a referee. So he was my kind of second coach. Then I had 2 assistant coaches from Taiwan who kind of knew the kids, one from Taipei, one from Kaohsiung. And we basically put them through a lot of drills. We had kind of tried to score them, kind of grade them on each technical abilities. So we had like skating, pivoting, skating backwards, crossovers, all this kind of stuff. So we put them through quite a few skating drills, obviously, to start with, and then we moved on to some puck handling drills. And again, we did the same thing, try to grade them. We watched how they play, how they shoot, put them under a bit of pressure, to make decisions. And then we just let them play, and we see how they get on and what they were like on the bench, what they were like if they were asked to sit a shift, what they were like on a power play or penalty kill, and how, one thing we tried to push them was just being creative. I read a quote somewhere that creativity is intelligence having fun. And, I just kind of wanted to challenge the kind of concept of how, I asked them, I said, why do we run a power play from the top? Why do we do that? And nobody could answer me. I said, what if we ran it from behind the net? What advantage would that give us? And they started thinking, oh, well, the defenders would be looking behind the net, not at the other players, that are in a scoring. Sorry, my cat just decided to meow. He wants to be on the podcast. Not looking at the players that are a threat. So it got them thinking, and I just said I'm not saying that they will definitely work, but why not try it? In this opportunity, rather than doing it in a game, there's no pressure on you at a tryout. Yeah, it's a tryout, but just be creative. Try some things. Try. Whatever it is that you want to try, just do it. Because I think a lot of people say that, the people that these guys on Instagram that are doing all these tricks with the sticks, like throwing the puck up and catching it, a lot of people say is it doesn't transfer to the game, which I agree. But also the ability to do that, and it may not be throwing the puck in there, but the hand-eye coordination or the confidence or the controlling the puck, that is relevant to the game. And you see players like Sidney Crosby, tipping in, hitting the puck out of midair and that kind of thing. That you can't do that without practicing it. So I like to see them be creative. I want to see what they come up with, and just to have fun and test things out. I think there's only so many X's and O's you can draw on a board. There's only so many ways you can draw a line for that player to skate exactly along that line on a board. I think sometimes you need to let them be creative.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've played hockey for 28 years, and I can't throw the puck up in the air as high as these guys and catch it. So it's like, more power to you if you can, because you look sweeter no matter, like, you can just go anywhere and do that. So, like, and these guys are doing stuff in halftime, like intermissions and stuff like that. And, what's cool about it is stuff like that brings more people into the sport.
Yeah.
But also what you were saying is like the hand eye, right? If you can catch a puck that you throw 25 feet in the air, and regardless whether you can spin your stick or not, one, that's soft hands.
Yeah.
And two, that's hand eye, because that puck's coming down probably faster than you threw it up, and then you got to catch it and cradle it. Like,
yeah, you're definitely going to catch whatever weird pass you get.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think that's where it transfers over. It's like you say, it's not necessarily doing that in a game, but it's the ability that, like I say, if the puck is in the air, because you're never always going to get a great pass 100% of the time, right? So those times where maybe it's up in the air, you can control it. So yeah, no, it's good. And also, like, I think challenging the players' concept of why they play a certain way. Is it because the coach has told you, but does the coach know why they've told you to do it that way? Or is it just something that they were taught? And maybe that coach told them, it's kind of one of those things that just try and make them think outside the box a little bit, and not go against what their coaches told them to do with their club, but just maybe question, okay, well, why do we do it that way? Why is there a better way of doing it? Is there a safer way of doing it? If we keep the puck behind the net, okay, we can't shoot from there, but we can, if we turn the puck over there, it's a better opportunity for us to defend rather than if we turn it over at the middle of the rink and they're on a breakaway. So just little things
I
like
love that idea.
Yeah. No, I mean, I love the creativity.
And I personally think controlling the puck behind the net is something that you don't really see that much anymore. But at the same time, people say Wayne Gretzky was the greatest ever, and that was where he lived.
Right? Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. So you have this college prospect camp, right? And you go through and you put them through drills. I mean, I saw they have some clips on there. Yeah. And so, like, I mean, I saw the one drill in the video. I think it's on your social media of them doing curls around cones down the rink, right? And so, I mean, there's even adults that struggle doing that, especially tight turns like that, right? I mean, that in itself shows you some sort of skill that these kids have, right? Now, going through those drills and talking with kids and benching them on purpose, right, and just kind of seeing their character, right? I'm gonna be honest with you. I've never had someone just be like, I'm just gonna bench, come to me like, yeah, I just benched you just because I wanted to see what your reaction was. And so, but personally, I love it though, because you're gonna see the reaction, right? Yeah. Are they selfish? Are they like, all right, yeah, go get them, man? Like, so, so where does, so you said that is there a ultimate end phase for the prospect camp?
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, I forgot about that. Yes.
No, you're good.
So we selected 2 players. And that was a tough decision. I mean, there were 6 or 7 players that we could have easily sent across. I mean, there were some that were, we had kids from 14 to 17 years of age there. So we felt it was probably best to send somebody towards the older side of it, the ones that would be looking to go to college next year. We had to take so much into consideration, but the 2 players that we selected, them we will send to the final college prospect camp in June in Milwaukee with Peter Dale and the Farm Tough guys. So, we 2 players are going. We also had a goalie from Argentina pulled out, so we sent one of our Korean goalies over that was at the camp, and we're hoping that we can send a couple more over if the spots open up. Like I said, we want to try and get as many kids from the Asia Pacific region there. And like I said, it was a very tough decision. There were easily 5 or 6 players that we could have sent, but obviously, first of all, the spaces on the final camp, and secondly, the funding. We could pay for 2 players, but definitely not 6.
Yeah. Now, are these obviously these kids are in a certain age bracket, right?
Yeah.
Are they all 17-year-olds, or are they?
No, we had a couple of 14-year-olds. We had one 13-year-old. So it's a kind of high school age, basically. But we wanted them to be looking to study in the States. There's no point in sending them over if they're not interested in studying there, because it's just, it's a great camp for them to be on. But, I think giving them opportunities, because I want to see these kids get into the collegiate system and study and play and be exposed to a higher standard of, maybe, I don't know if a higher standard is the right term, but a different style of hockey, different coaches, and putting themselves against some of the best collegiate programs in the world, and having a couple of kids. And then when they graduate, maybe they come back and they help their youth program in their local team back in Taiwan or Korea or wherever it is. And it continues to grow organically from that.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I love that you're just like, hey, if this is not something you want to do, then we'd rather send someone that wants to. Right. Yeah. And I love that you're like, even if you're 14, you're not ready for college yet. But, if this is a continuous thing that, hey, these are the expectations, then hopefully that 14-year-old comes back the next year and the next year. Mm-hmm. Right. So they get 3-4 years of it. And they're like, okay, I didn't make it again. I didn't get picked up, but I know what I need to work on. Mm. So it's awesome that not only a certain age bracket gets to be a part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, we just one of the things that Peter Dale said to us that ideally they want to be around that kind of 14 to 17 age range. But like I said, I mean, the school systems in Asia are a little bit different in terms of when they go to college and that kind of thing. So, and same in Europe. Europe is even later. So we just wanted to make sure that we were sending the right kids over to this camp, and we weren't, even if it was the 14-year-old or 13-year-old was the best player at the camp, realistically, it's going to be 3 or 4 years before they even consider college. So they may not be the best player in 3 or 4 years, So,
yeah. Now, you mentioned going and learning this, like a different maybe style of roller hockey or just hockey in general, and being able to share that with if they were to come back. And, I'm just curious on how would you explain the style of Asian Pacific hockey?
Yeah.
I think with, I would say I haven't seen much of the Pacific hockey. I saw like a few players that were at the camp, but I don't think I could probably generalize the Pacific style of hockey at the moment because I've not seen enough of it. I think with the Asian style of hockey, it's very fast and it's a bit more individual skill rather than team systems that you see. A lot of the North American teams will kind of slow the puck down and possess the puck and create opportunities by controlling the puck. Whereas I think the Taiwan team in particular will create opportunities by speed and there may not be a gap there, but they'll try to create a gap. Okay. So I think it's I think just they attack with pace every single time. They don't tend to slow it down much. They rely on their pace. They shoot very well. They have a lot of individual skill, and I think that if you could take those and put them in a program where they have, I guess, more of a team system, more structured, not set plays, but kind of ways of playing, I think they could be like even better.
Okay. Yeah. So you're there because I was going to say, looking at the Chinese Taipei team and how they played at the Worlds for the was that U20 or U18?
I think it was U18 or U19. I think U18, I believe.
So, and watching them play, they were very fast, but they through their running gun style, right? They just exploded through this because North America. Okay.
Ignore that.
North America likes to play their systematic, whether it's like a 1-1-2 into a man or into a box, or they play man all the way around, right? And so it was interesting to see them explode through the set systems with such preciseness, right?
Yeah.
And that's, but also through that preciseness and through the speed, they got to be conditioned. And that's where I think that's probably where they might have an advantage, because if they can keep that pace up for an entire game, there's not many teams that can keep that pace up. So
no.
even if you look at it in just the pro North American circuit, right? Those guys, as skilled as those guys are, they can't keep a fast pace up as much as they are very good, right? And they will work their tails off. But the pace that the Chinese Taipei team played at was just overwhelming.
Yeah. And I think if you look at some of the games as well, some of those players on the Chinese Taipei team or the Taiwan team, they played a lot of minutes as well. Mm-hmm. Some of the better players, they would barely come off. So yeah, the conditioning is good. And then if you look at the kind of the build of the players as well, they're very kind of light frame. They're not solid players. They're quite light. They're kind of wiry, but they are nimble, very, very quick. And I guess that they use that to kind of get around players rather than going through players, if you like.
Yeah.
I like to call that water bugs. The little guys just jumping all over the place.
Yeah.
Well, and I look at it today too, and you may be able to, talk about this too. But when I play against these young kids, I feel like their ankles are just so nimble that they're just like, if I was to try and step and cut real quick, as much as I see these kids do it, I'm like, my ankle's not going to survive. But these kids today, they do some crazy stuff where they go one way, they fake it, and they just cut back real quick. And it's like, I'm watching their body, and I'll be trying to defend them, and I'm like, yeah, my ankles can't do that.
And you end up having to give them space, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I don't know if you noticed, a lot of the Taiwan guys are playing on 3-wheel chassis as well. So
I did not notice that.
Yeah, they were playing on like these 3-wheel chassis that a lot of people, I hadn't seen them before. A lot of people hadn't seen them, and yeah, it was pretty crazy to see, because you think that having 3 wheels, you got less, less rubber in contact with the floor, so maybe it makes them quicker. The wheels were bigger. Yeah.
I mean, you did say they came from the speed skating background, right? That some of them do, and I think there's on the roller speed skating. Is there
I think
3 giant wheels?
There's 5 wheels. I think on the speed skating ones, I think there's 5. Yeah. But yeah, it's pretty incredible to see. I don't know whether that makes a difference to their agility and acceleration, but yeah, it was interesting to see.
I would think it would. I mean, it's like skis. The shorter the skis, the easier it is to turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do some research on that. I'm gonna have to do some research, because I did not notice the 3-wheel.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. I'm amazed.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm lost for words on the 3-wheel, because everyone grows up. The only time you have 3 wheels is when your skate's too small.
Yep.
Yeah. And you're on like a size 3 youth, and then you're like, oh, you only get 3 wheels, and then eventually you get a big enough boot, and you're like, oh, I got 4 wheels now.
You can fit 4 wheels,
yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that might play into it a little bit. Yeah. I'm gonna do some research on it.
But I mean, so coming over and playing Narch, right? Playing on a North American rink, is there, because we usually end up comparing our rinks to like Europe, or when we talked with roller hockey in Mexico and South America, that the European and South American style is kind of the same, where it's smaller rinks, smaller nets. Where's Asia fall into the realm of like regulations?
So I guess it depends on which code they follow. For us in Hong Kong, we play World Skate rules, so we have the smaller nets with those big thick pipes. I guess, yeah, it depends, because I know a lot of countries don't play under world skate rules, so they play with, like, I guess, the traditional ice hockey size nets. The rink sizes vary so much as well. Like the rink we played on we did the college prospect camp on in Taiwan was, I think, around like 40 by 20 meters. I don't know what that is in feet, I'm afraid. And then, but like the one in Cambodia is probably about the same 40-ish by 20, I guess. So most of the rinks are around the 40 by 20 meter size. I believe in Taiwan, in Taipei, they have a kind of bigger rink. In Australia, I can't remember the size of the rink that. Let me just quickly check this one, because their rink, when I got the dimensions, I was like, well, that's a very big rink. I think it's something like nearly 50 by 25 or something like that. So a nice big rink. And personally, I prefer a bigger rink to play on. Yeah, more space. I kind of prefer more passing game, almost like quarterback kind of role. So for me personally, and plus I'm getting a bit older now, so I'm not as quick. So, yeah. So the rinks vary, to be honest with you. I guess it depends on if they follow world skate rules, whether they do their own thing. Yeah, there's so many different variations.
Yeah, if my conversions are correct, your typical size that you're playing on is pretty much European style. It's 130 by 65 feet.
Right. Okay,
The normal US roller rink is about 185 by, is it 90, Justin?
By 80 or 85.
Nice, yeah. Yeah, okay. I prefer those. Yeah, those rinks, especially at like kind of Irvine that we played at Natch. It's so nice to play on a rink like that.
And honestly, the bigger rinks with the speed that the Asian players play with, that they're being brought up through, is actually the bigger rink would benefit them, right? So whereas a smaller rink is going to they're going to run so fast, they're going to run out of room.
Yeah.
And that's what we see with a lot of the North American guys that go over and play in the Pro Europe League, is that their style helps them because they're so patient. But like these other guys, they just, when you watch the Pro European League, guys just fly right into traffic.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, there's a penalty call because two guys ran into each other. So
yeah.
That's what I was going to ask, is what's the physicality like over there?
Oh, it was an eye opener for a lot of kids coming across to Natch. Honestly, like the referees are so kind of strict on certain things that everything gets called over here, and then you go over there and they're like, oh, they're not calling it. I'm like, yeah, that's how it should be. But
that's the North American way.
yeah. But even with going back to the college prospect camp, we had 3 Taiwanese referees refereeing the kind of scrimmages for us. And I said to them before the game, I said, listen, just don't call everything. I said, stick penalties like slash and hook in, fair enough. But if there's any kind of body contact, try to just let it go, because that's what they're going to experience when they go to North America. So, let it go a little bit. And I think it was only like 1 penalty called in all 3 games, which was good in a way. But also, I wanted to see them try a penalty kill in power play. So I was like, oh, ref, just call a penalty here for something. Just want to see something. But yeah, it's totally different. I think there needs to be a kind of happy medium of, somewhere, at least if, say, North American is here and Asian is here, we want to try and at least get the kids used to something in the middle, because otherwise when they go to tournaments, they're not going to be used to the physical stuff. I mean, getting a few chops on the hand now and again, and the ref doesn't call it, and you just got to get on with it.
Yeah.
Play the whistle, but also you can't just, also you got to give it as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, Justin and I have seen it. We've had an increase in guys going to smaller tournaments near where we live, and so they are like, it's eye opening. Where our league is kind of like not as loose for calling penalties as tournaments are, but when they go to tournaments, they're like, that's a call. And I'm like, you're not getting that call in this tournament.
Yeah.
Like you're not getting like a guy running into you and rubbing you out on the boards, right? And then you're like, dude, what the heck? You're not getting it. And now it's kind of like the style is bleeding into our own league, and people are understanding why we're not making these calls anymore.
Yeah.
So and it's just something that once these kids experience that they're just like, all right, it's like, all right, now I got to remember that's not getting called.
Yeah.
And you know what? On top of that, because people don't expect the call for someone rubbing them out or going body to body with them, we're seeing people actually turn the puck around, control it, do a little bit more of a setup because they're like, it's not worth trying to force myself through here because I'm not going to draw a penalty.
Yeah, exactly. I think as well. I mean, this has happened a few times in the league here where you lift somebody's stick and you lift it with a bit of force, and then you get called for slashing. You're like, but I'm lifting the stick. It's like, oh yeah, but that's a slash. I'm like, it's just frustrating. Or like one player trying to stick handle through everybody, does a pirouette and skates into somebody, and then that person gets called for interference. Like, well, he skated into me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's just the I can't ultimately, I don't want to badmouth refs because ultimately they give up their time to help us play our sport. So, but I think it's just that kind of consistency with the maybe different codes and the different rules. But I think, like I said, for players in Asia, it's a bit of an eye opener coming across to North America and seeing how, in my opinion, the sport should be played from a kind of refereeing perspective, like letting a lot of the body contact go as long as it's. You're not lining somebody up halfway across the rink and smashing them through the boards. But yeah.
Well, it's funny because Justin and I have a buddy, and at least once a tournament, he likes to try and sky someone's stick up into the rafters.
Right.
And so, the funny part is most refs don't know what to call. So he'll do it, and they'll look at it, and they're like, "What the heck just happened?" And they're like, "Why is there a stick falling from the rafters?" And then they go up to him and are like, "Listen, man, like." This is not your first time doing this. We've seen this in the last tournament you came here. The next time you do that, we're gonna give you like interference or something like that. And so he's like, all right, cool.
I think he's just doing his duty. He's making sure people are holding onto the sticks.
That too.
Yeah.
It's just
a
funny.
Quick little stick check.
Yeah, he just looks at him and goes, "Hold on to your stick."
Yep.
It's true.
So, Dom, I'm going to throw this out there because you talked about coming over to North America in 2025.
Yeah.
I don't know if you are aware of USRC in 2025 it going to Hawaii.
I've seen that. Is it in February time?
Yes.
Yes, I've seen them. I mean, I keep in contact with Doug Jones, who's over there with the Hawaii program. And I know Etan was over there recently, and I've seen the US Roller Cup hosting a tournament there. I've been to Hawaii once, and I would absolutely love to go back, especially if I can combine that with hockey.
Yeah.
I think the only problem with us, like I work in a school as a PE teacher, so time off work is limited to, I guess, school holidays. But it was something that came up when I saw the picture. I was like, oh man, that would be awesome to do. There's also like the Africa Cup as well that we're trying to potentially send teams to. There's so many awesome tournaments around the world, and I'd love to be able to go to them all. But I mean, maybe we could try, if there's guys interested in the region, I'd love to send a team across for sure.
Yeah. And also it could be something that, because I know our buddy Jake, who runs US Roller Cup, he's looking to get in and kind of not only just stay in North America, like he's going to Colombia, right? And he's going to talk with to potentially going to Mexico and doing a tournament there. But he's looking to branch out and go to other countries. So maybe you could probably reach out to him, and you guys can probably link up and try and see if he do something near you, because he's definitely down to do it.
Yeah, I've actually spoken to Jake about the is it the college foundation?
Yes.
Yeah, so I've spoken to Jacob, and I didn't realize it was Jake that was running it actually. When so I saw his post on Instagram, and I emailed him, and he goes, "Oh, hey, I also run US Roller Cup," and I was like, "Oh, okay," because we obviously they're one of our sponsors for the college prospect camp, and I think that would be cool having like a big tournament like that. I mean, we've kind of been playing around with the kind of idea of running a big tournament in Asia.
Nice.
I think we have a lot of talent in Asia that maybe either for whatever reason they can't get across North America, whether it's financial or maybe political with the passports and things like that. We have a lot of players that couldn't get visas to come to Natch last summer. So having something in Asia would be an opportunity for them to kind of play against some good quality opposition as well. And I know that players want to come to Asia too. Speaking to Itan and Junior Cadiz about coming and running some camps over here towards the end of this year and early next year. They came over to Hong Kong in 2011, I believe it was. And they've, every time I see them or speak to them since, they're like, oh, we want to come back to Hong Kong. We want to come back to Hong Kong. And so I'm trying to make that happen as well. But yeah, bringing teams over to Asia and having them experience some Asian culture as well, and maybe seeing some sites over here. I mean, I came over for a year, and 12 years later, I'm still here. It's a beautiful part of the world. There's lots to see and lots of kind of interesting things that go on over here, and it'd be cool to get more players across. So for sure, I'll definitely have to reach out to Jake.
Yeah, and I think it'd be awesome because it would be. It would just you're merging more of the roller community together, and that's kind of what Jake wants to do.
Oh yeah,
that's his whole goal for sure.
Yeah,
and talking about tournaments over there, what's the pro scene like?
There's no pro scene in Asia.
Oh,
yeah, it's all amateur, amateur rec. Yeah, there's not a pro league over here. I think it would be awesome if there was, but I think just the financial, the financial involvement would be a bit different, especially, and also which country would you run the pro league out of? It would probably need to be Taiwan in terms of facilities, and set in kind of central location for teams in like Korea. I think just, maybe in a few years, who knows? But at the minute, it's all just like club rec, basically.
Maybe that'll be the first no offsides pro team.
That'd be awesome.
Hey, I mean, listen, you got a bunch of these young guys coming up that are, winning worlds and whatnot. I mean, it wouldn't be sweet to see. Obviously they got potentially a couple more years before, but it would be nice to see. And I think that the North American circuit would be willing to accept them to come over and play. But you gather let's just say your elite players, and you're like, hey, Narch, we want to enter this team into the pro, right? And see what they got. Like these are the best. Like, and you can just be like, look at their resume. Like they won worlds, and and stuff like that. And I think it would be. I'm always interested on when these new teams join, especially from other countries. Like, what is it? It's France that's coming to State Wars this year, right?
Yeah.
And so it's nice to see that every once in a while this happens. And so I think potentially that might be something that you, whether you put together or, someone else in your region does, but I think it would definitely be a good thing for the sport.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that our goal is to eventually have teams in the platinum divisions for as many of the age categories as we can, and whether maybe in 2025 we try to put a men's platinum or 24s platinum team, and wherever it is, having a go at that kind of not quite the pro level, but the next level down, seeing how they do, and then maybe following on from that, if we get interest, then maybe 2 years later trying to put a pro team in. I don't know the ins and outs or the process for doing, whether it's a different process for the pro teams, because I know there's like a cash prize and things like that, and but it would be fun for sure to kind of coach against some of those players and see how Asian hockey does against the best in the world.
I mean, and hopefully you beat Eton, and then you can sit there and hold that over the rest of your life.
That'd be fun. I mean, obviously he's so competitive, and he's such a great guy and a great ambassador for the sport, and someone that I really look up to in the sport. So it'd be fun to. I've coached a team that has beaten his team in Sparta Cup many years ago, but that's only because he missed the game, and we took them to penalty shots, and then beat them in penalty shots. So that's one. I guess I got one over him so far.
That's awesome. But yeah, I mean, you talked about 2025, right?
Yeah.
You brought, I think, if I remember correctly, you said 16 teams.
14 teams.
14 teams
in 2023. Yeah.
So, I mean, what's the goal for 2025?
I want to bring over. Well, I want to enter a 13U and 19U girls team. I want to try to get our women's team did really well last year. I think they won the gold division. I'd like to try and enter that team into the top division, women's pro. Because I think, I mean, I don't know whether we'd win it, but they definitely maybe hold their own and give some good games. Other than that, just try to again do what we did last time, bring over each age group from 6U through to 40 plus men, and with these with the 13U girls, 19U girls. My plan is to hopefully have our 6U team also play as a team in the 8U division.
Okay.
So we'd have two teams in 8U, and then our 8Us would play 10U and so on. So we'd have two teams in each division for the youth. We'll see how it goes. We've already had people filling in the expression of interest forms.
Okay.
So we've already got players that have said, they want to come back after 2023. We've got new players signing up from Australia and New Zealand. So we'll see. We'll.
I mean, I could, that's awesome because if you're getting new people looking to sign up, right, and you gave a year break of like preparing people of like, hey, let's get your stuff in order, right? Let's go back at it again in 2025. I mean, you potentially are going to be fielding even more teams, right?
Yeah, I think we are going to lose. We're going to lose some players. I know some players have been picked up by other programs, or some players maybe their program didn't make finals, and that's how they were able to play with us, or something like. So there's going to be a little bit of a drop off, which we kind of understand. I mean, some kids are now playing with Dangle Dojo, so it's of course we're not going to hold that against them. It's amazing for them to go and play under someone like Itan. And get that experience, as long as that kid is playing, we don't really mind who he's playing for, so he or she is playing for. But yeah, hopefully we can pick up a few more and add in a couple more teams. Yeah,
very cool.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet, and and who knows? You just when you're back over in the States, you just put up a sign outside the Dangle Dojo and say, "Join Will Hub Asia team."
Yeah. Maybe we'll have to have we'll have an Asian franchise of the dojo.
Yeah.
the proper ninjas.
Yeah.
He'd like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure he would. It's just the I guess we need a facility. That's the thing.
Hey,
get one of those under the bridge facilities.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. It's just like, how many people can say they played in a rink underneath the bridge, right? I mean, it's just crazy to think about, but at the same time, it's wherever you can fit it, right? So
yeah, there's land there. It's not being used. Why not?
Yeah.
There should be more of those, I reckon.
Agreed. If we're cool to take a little bit of a left turn,
sure.
I wanted to talk about the fact that you also do fitness training, correct?
Yes, so I was a strength and conditioning coach for 16 years. Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to just pick your brain a little bit. What do you think are the most important ways to train physically for roller hockey?
I think any single leg exercises, things like Bulgarian split squats, single leg Romanian deadlifts. So yeah, everyone hates the Bulgarian split squat.
Yeah, Bulgarian, hate them. I hate them.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, I don't think there's anyone on the planet that likes them. But if you look at the kind of movement and the muscles it develops, it's a no-brainer, unfortunately, for players. I'd say, single leg stuff is probably the most important, just for the nature of skating. Hip mobility is an important one. I think there was a stat that said 85% of collegiate hockey players had hip labral issues, which is insane because that's like under 18-year-olds that are having hip problems just through the mechanics of hockey. So, hip mobility stuff, strengthening around the hips, core strength, and it's not like crunches, but things like anti-rotation exercises, being able to take the hits against the boards, or being able to, if you're skating and you get hit, being able to take that contact. I think lower body and core are the main ones. I mean, obviously everyone wants to do the chest guns so they look good on the beach, but there you go. Yeah. I think those would be my kind of go-tos. Anything like lateral lunges or Cossack squats, things like that. Those would be probably the main ones I would say for hockey players, for skaters in general.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned just like lunges and stuff like that, and like single leg stuff, because I actually just got back in the gym after nursing a back injury that I couldn't do much with my lower back. I could still play hockey, but I couldn't do much lifting because that's what really beat it up. And so I just kicked my rear on Monday on just doing lunges, walking lunges with kettlebells, and which terrible idea. And then today I just
sort from that as well.
Today was it was one leg standing on a box jump doing squats with one leg squats. So I'm glad I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think just looking at what the sport requires is, I think with most sports as well, I think being able to do stuff like single leg stuff for any sport, really, and even things like basketball or rugby, football, whatever sport you play. I think if you play in a sport that's like an invasion game, or on a court or field or rink, and you're running or skating, you need to do single leg stuff. It's for me, it's a no-brainer. But unfortunately, a lot of people will see stuff on Instagram that looks cool, and they'd rather do that.
I don't know. There's some crazy stuff. I've seen some guy that's a trainer, and he does some wild, like more like explosive stuff, but it's kind of like explosive through onto a box jump, and then do some leg kick off of it and land. And I'm like, at 33, I can't do that.
Parkour.
Yeah.
I think it is, unfortunately as well, there's a lot of stuff on the internet that is just, I call it the fluff. It looks pretty, but it's not really functional. There's the reason that the staples are there, and they're always included in any kind of pro or high level teams programming, is because they work. They're boring, but they work. Yeah. And
Well, it's funny because I'm a school teacher as well. So a lot of us joke around as like teachers and like talking about, through sports, and we're like, I usually rate how athletic someone is through if they can dance, right? Because that usually comes with a lot of hip motion. And so when we have our annual dances at our school, and I look at these kids try and dance, and I'm like, you're not athletic. You can't even swing your hips, man. Like, you're so stiff through your hips. Like, how do you expect to do certain things in like football or, basketball or, just all these other sports? And I'm like, if you can't even swing your hips or, do a simple dance move, you're not athletic.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be able to celebrate.
Coordination, right? Yeah, you're not going to be able to celebrate for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, not for sure. It depends on time. Go on, sorry.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
I think, like I was going to say, it's like time and coordination as well, right? It's being able to control your body, but also I think sometimes, depending on the age of the students, it could just be a confidence thing. Whether they just don't want to dance, or they feel a bit shy, or they do like a little two-step or something.
I get it. I mean, I was always dancing when I probably shouldn't have been, so I don't count in that category. But
yeah, I mean, my go-to dance move is to go when I go to weddings is just rock a split on the dance floor. So
that's a pretty
big got bad back.
Well, probably yes. It's I put my body through, like I'm so flexible that I always test my flexibility even as I get older. And so then I'll end up like whacking my knee on the dance floor. I'm like, yep, I'm out for a little while.
How much do you pay attention to diet for your players and the training and everything?
I mean, in reality, diet, I'd say not that much. If we had our own program that was a kind of high level program, I would pay more attention to it for sure. When I was back in the UK, I used to run some hockey camps, and we would do a session on sports nutrition, and I'd give the players information about what they should eat before game, during games, or like between games at a tournament, and then after games. And I think it's important because ultimately, food is fuel. If you're not putting the right stuff in your body, you're not going to be able to perform as well. You're not going to recover as quickly. So it is very important. I think the situation I'm in at the moment with Wheel Hub, I don't really need to use it as much. But then also, I mean, I've got friends. One of my friends played at Maryland lacrosse NCAA Division 1, and he was saying that they had a semi-final on the Friday night, and then they were playing the final the very next day on the Saturday, and playing against their big rivals. And then after the game they won, they go in the locker room, there's like burgers and all this like fast food there. And I was like, man, that's pretty crazy. And then I thought about it. Well, actually, they need to get the calories in. They just need to, get the calories in because they're playing the next day, and it kind of makes sense. So I think being open-minded as well about where you get your calories from. If you need calories, if you're playing in a tournament, you need to get something in you. And the reality is, most places, like a rink, they're not going to be serving, like fancy food, right? It's going to be quick food. It's going to be burgers and hot dogs and stuff like that. So I think during the tournament, just getting in the calories is important. Most of the time throughout the season, trying to eat healthy is obviously the best way to go. But yeah, it's not always practical, right?
I mean, my diet in between games and tournaments is not practical. I've mentioned it before. I mean, I'm a candy guy.
Yeah.
Quick sugar, quick energy, get me back on my feet, get out there, play again. And hey, guess what? I get to enjoy more sugar. So, and I've done I do. I mean, you look at it and I go, okay, what kind of meal do I want to kind of fuel my body back up after? Because you don't want to eat like a burger and fries in between a game where you only have maybe an hour and a half, 2 hour break, right?
Yeah.
That's too much.
Yeah.
So, as much as I said I'm going to use the wording loosely, I like to keep it light. Right. So, Starburst, some Skittles, or, some gummy worms or something of that sort, and that's what fuels me. Or, you go with a granola bar or something of, and it's light, but it's not the candy. The candy's not filling, but like the granola bars can be filling and for short term and stuff like that. So, where then some guys are just that I've played with are just a black hole. They're like, oh, let me go get fast food, and then they're like, oh, let me go get a 12-inch sub. Like, you're eating a whole sub before a game? Yeah, no big deal. Okay.
Yeah. You talk about the Whitmans?
Yeah. I think things like meal replacement shakes or like protein shakes as well. Those can be okay between games. I mean, obviously depending on how much carbs is in them. Obviously, you want more carbs, maybe a little bit less protein if you're between games, and at the end of the day, having one that's a bit more protein. But I think I think everyone's different as well, right? What will work, like you say, somebody might be able to smash a In-N-Out burger and a sub and something else, and then somebody might just have like half a pack of Skittles or something. Whatever works for you. I guess it depends on what you've eaten the night before as well, right? What fuel you still have left in your body.
Well, I could say the last tournament Justin and I went to, we were in the pizza mecca, and so it was nothing but pizza for like 3 days, and it's from where I'm from. So, and I'm like, and at that point I was like, guys, can we eat something else?
Nope. We're running off of only pizza.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
it wasn't that bad either.
No,
I couldn't do it right before the game, but
no. I mean, I did wake up and have that cold slice of pizza though. So
I think leftover pizza is probably the best, right?
But yeah, I mean, it's always good to pick people's minds on what I don't know if what word I want to use here scientifically, or what is recommended for in between activity of any sport, but but also then getting into what works for people, right? Because like you said, some people I eat candy, some people will eat a full meal between games and not be affected by it. Some people will be hunched over throwing up in a garbage can, right? So everyone's different. Everyone's digestive system works differently, and some people can get away with eating trash all weekend, and others are like, nope, salad with chicken and stuff like that. So it's always interesting to pick people's mind on that. So I appreciate it.
No problem. I remember kind of growing up, my mum would bring down a big tub of pasta. We'd be eating that between games. And I was like, oh man, it's a bit too heavy. Trying to stuff it in your mouth. You feel like, oh man, it's going to feel, be sick when you're playing. But like I said, I think it depends on the individual. For the most part, obviously, keeping the muscle glycogen levels filled is going to be a good thing. So kind of in between games, like high GI foods, like the sweets, the gummies, stuff like that is going to help for sure.
Dan's waiting for the proof.
And then chicken wings afterwards.
100%, always.
With a couple of beers to wash it down.
Yeah. See, I just got my full tournament weekend approval right here today.
He must also go to Dylan's. That's great though. And I don't know a ton about other sports and how their tournament systems work, but roller's its own animal where you might be playing 4 games in a 8-hour period. Yeah. And that's a lot of calories.
And also I remember one in Nats last year, I think we had one game, it was like 20-1 in the morning, so it's like 12:40 p.m. And it's like, there's nothing really open at that time, and guys like, oh man, should I eat before a game? Should I not eat before a game? Because it's like, your body clock is telling you that you should be asleep and not eating, but then you've got to play a game.
Yep. And I have not had I have not been able to make it out to a Narch tournament. But if it's anything, I'm sure it's something close to tours and state wars where certain divisions are just the gauntlet, where there's 20, 30, 40 teams, and playoffs is just constant. It's like you win and you turn back around in a short time, you're playing again. And you turn back around and you're playing again. So, and you just, at that point, it's the war of nutrition, right? It's the war of whose bodies are going to last the longest.
Yeah. Who's drunk the least amount of beer?
Yeah, that too. Yes.
Not us. So, can we talk about this league that I'm finding on the Wheel Hub website, 3 in line?
Yeah, sure. So that was our 3 in line league was kind of just the first 3-on-3 league in Hong Kong. Basically, we decided to try to give players an alternative kind of format of hockey, something that would help their 4-on-4 game, but also something that kind of complemented the current league that was running. We didn't want to kind of compete with the current league. We wanted to kind of help supplement it, and we ran it on a different night. We had a lot of different players because in Hong Kong there's an ice hockey league pretty much every night of the week. So a lot of players that play ice, they can't do inline because they're playing ice on that day. So we're like, okay, well, how about we do it on a different day and we start a 3-on-3 league? And we had quite a few ice hockey players come across, like ice and roller guys that came back across to kind of play that. This year we did it a little bit differently. So we went away from the 3-on-3 format and we did a Grand Prix series. And the way it works, we have 16 players and 2 goalies registered for the league as a kind of cut off at that number. And then there's 8 games across the season. Each player will be a captain once. And then you win points for turning up. You lose points if you don't turn up. Because one thing we found is players, I guess it's not just a problem here, but players will kind of be a bit flaky sometimes unless there's a punishment for not turning up.
Hockey.
So you lose points for not turning up. You win 3 points if your team wins, and if you're a captain, you win a bonus 5 points if your team wins. So, and every Sunday night there's a draft for the team for the Tuesday. So the teams change every week. So you're playing with and against different guys. Yeah, and it's basically just a bit of a different format. So we got a good group of guys there. We got 2 teams every week, and yeah, it was just a bit of fun. One of the other guys just thought of this or had heard about this kind of format, and we're like, yeah, why not? We'll give it a go. And yeah, it was good. We just actually had our last game of the season on Tuesday, so it was good fun. And we're already the guys like, oh, can we do it again? Can we do it again? So we're looking to potentially do it again. Yeah.
Which is interesting too, because most people revert to the Ironman hockey system, 4-on-4, shorter games, like no more than like 12 to 15-minute games, right? And so it's interesting because I honestly have never heard of that format of style. I don't know if it's not, and I could just be out of the loop with it, but from all the hockey that I follow on social media, I don't think I've come across it at all besides Wilhelm.
Yeah, no, we hadn't heard of it either ourselves until one of the guys mentioned it. And we play 4 20-minute periods as well, with maybe 2 minutes between the periods, just try to get as much rink time as we can. And our rink is outdoors, and it can get pretty hot and humid here as well. So it's pretty interesting seeing how we're faring at the end of the game compared to at the start. But yeah, we just wanted more rink time for the guys. We don't train out here either, so there's no kind of club programs in Hong Kong, which is very different to a lot of places. So we just we use the 3 in line, and we're using this kind of Grand Prix series as almost a bit like a trainer session to be able to get on the rink a bit more, get on the wheels, skate, shoot the puck a bit, because otherwise it's just the Monday night league that we play in, and it's difficult sometimes to just kind of go from nothing to that once a week without any training or any other hockey. So
yeah, and it's just also something different to keep roller hockey interesting too. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely anything that's interesting, I'll consider stealing the idea.
I'll go for it.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll take a commission. Was it royalties, right?
Yeah.
You got it.
But I think it's just fun playing with different guys every game, and playing against guys that you haven't maybe played against before. Me and the Wheel Hub guys, we tend not to play on the same team on our Monday night league. I think last time we played together was over 5 years ago, and then the last game of the season, just now on Tuesday, we played on the same team again for the first time. So it's nice to kind of play with the boys and have a beer after the game and stuff. Yeah, it's good. Like I say, keep it interesting, a bit different, something that doesn't kind of compete with what's already going on, but something that kind of complements it and hopefully attracts more players to the sport.
Okay. Yeah. Love it.
Yeah, what's the go-to beer after the game? Little Tsingtao.
Well, normally Tsingtao. Yeah. Tsingtao is pretty good. It's cheap. Yeah, I'll say Tsingtao for now. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I was in Beijing one time, and my buddy was like, "This is what you want, man," and it was like 79 cents a beer.
Oh, so cheap. Yeah. But in Cambodia, for anyone that's interested in coming to Cambodia to play in the tournament, there's draft beer for 75 cents in Cambodia. So
sold.
Well, yeah.
We could probably get all our guys out there with that information.
Just think of the money you save by drinking 75-cent beer. That'll pay for your flight and hotel, right?
Yeah.
Hey, for 75-cent beers, you don't need a hotel. You just pass out.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's awesome.
Justin, do you want to hit him with some rapid fire?
Rapid fire?
Ooh.
Yeah, man. All right. Don't think too much about this. All right. Just kind of go right off the dome. What is your favorite part of roller?
Community.
Good answer. If there's something you could change about the game, what would it be?
Oh, wow. For me personally, make the goals a lot bigger so I get a chance of scoring.
Like indoor soccer nets?
Yeah, something like that. Same outdoor soccer nets.
All right, there you go. What are your favorite drills to run with your youth teams?
Oh man, anything that flows, anything that keeps them engaged and keeps them moving. To be honest with you, I don't have a kind of set one that I prefer, but anything that gets as many of them involved as possible and kind of keeps flowing. Yeah.
Very cool. Is it the same with your kind of more advanced adult level?
Yeah, I'd say the same. Obviously, maybe the technical aspects are a little bit different, but I think for the most part, for kids, keeping them moving because kids get distracted easily, so keeping them busy is a good thing. And I think for the older players, making it kind of game-like or game situation where you might be on a forecheck, then you might need a back check, and it's kind of just any flow drill really.
What sport do you think carries over the best to roller hockey?
I mean, other than ice hockey. Yeah, other than ice hockey, maybe box lacrosse.
Okay.
Interesting, yeah. Do you have a lot of box lacrosse over there?
Yeah, actually, I used to work with the Hong Kong Lacrosse Association as the S&C coach for 6 years. So I know a lot of the lacrosse guys, and actually the guy who came up with the Grand Prix Series League is a lacrosse guy, box lacrosse and field lacrosse guy. So his brother is a guy, Brandon Wong. He played at Quinnipiac and runs a hockey program in Victoria, BC as his brother. So he's from a good kind of hockey and lacrosse family. So I'd say, yeah.
The sport that destroyed roller hockey in the 90s.
I take it back.
No, I personally love lacrosse. I mean, I love watching it. It's physicality. It is very similar to. I have to agree. It is similar to that of just hockey in general.
Yeah.
Just the penalties and the flow and the teamwork and how the game is set up. So I don't disagree. Roller hockey took a hit in the 90s because lacrosse became so popular.
Damn. Okay. I feel bad now.
He'll be all right.
Yeah.
What do you think the most important trait is in a hockey player?
Grit, determination, kind of dealing with adversity.
I agree. Who is your biggest influence or role model getting into hockey at a young age?
Oh, well, I don't think I can narrow it down to one. I think in the UK, there were two in particular, Andrew Silito, or Smiley, and Glenn Evans, Smurf. Those two guys kind of were the pioneers for roller hockey in the UK, especially when I was kind of growing up. I think Andrew Smiley was the first pro British player to play roller I think he was in Vancouver. And Smurf kind of was the first one to take teams from the UK over to Narch and tournaments like that with his Time to Shine program. And I still keep in touch with him now. I look up to him. I've played with Smurf for the Great Britain team. He's now playing for Team US Masters, I believe, or was up until fairly recently. I still look up to those guys. They've done a lot for the sport in the UK. So I'd say those guys growing up. And I think now maybe Itan and Junior Cadiz, just for what they do for the sport now, obviously mainly in North America, but also when they came to Asia, and when they're going to do more in Asia as well in the future.
Yeah.
If they want to be on the podcast, go ahead.
Yeah. And that's what I was just going to say. Is that I feel like I was going to say, Justin, looks like we got two more guys we're going to start targeting to try and get on the podcast.
100%. I know that they're both still involved in hockey, Smiley and Smurf. Smiley is now in Czech Republic running some kind of hockey schools there. But I'm sure he would love to kind of come on and talk about what he's done, and what he's got a very decorated history in the sport. And same with Smurf. He used to run a program in California. He moved to the US a few years back, and yeah, I know he'd be keen to come on and chat about what he's been up to too.
Absolutely, we'd love to have him.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Where is a location that you would hope to travel to and play?
Oh man, I've seen that outdoor rink in Bermuda.
Oh
Have
yeah.
you guys seen that one? On
Yeah.
It looks like it's on a cliff top. I mean, that would be pretty cool playing there as the sun goes down. A couple of beers, that would be pretty cool. But I mean, anywhere you get to travel to and play hockey is awesome for me. I mean, it combines two of my favorite things. So, but I think out of ever in the world, that would be pretty sick to play there.
Okay.
Hell yeah. This kind of fits into this second question I asked you, but if there is a rule change in roller, what would you make that?
A rule change in roller. So something that we tried in the 3-on-3, which I think it kind of worked pretty well, is instead of having penalties, you have a penalty shot, and all the other players have to line up on the goal line, the opposition goal line, so they kind of, as soon as the whistle goes, they can kind of back check and chase you down. I think something like that would be pretty fun. Instead of, I mean, for some penalties, maybe, like maybe not a slash or something like that, but maybe interference or some of the less injury causing penalties, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that. It kind of makes it more like soccer, football, like where you got to kind of take it and the play just starts and goes from there.
Well, and I think 3-ice actually does something similar to that too. For just because they want the flow of the game to stay, they don't do penalties, right? So they're like, okay, you get a breakaway, you pretty much get a breakaway, and everyone has to try and catch up to you.
Yeah.
Do you think that roller hockey and roller hockey skills / style has been bleeding over into ice?
Oh, definitely. I think if you look at some of the guys like in the NHL now that have played at tournaments like Narch and Tours and State Wars, I think I definitely think that the way you handle the puck in inline, it transfers over to ice, because in inline you have to kind of do more work, right? The puck doesn't slide as much, so you have to have kind of quicker hands. And even growing up, I saw the players that played inline that also played ice with the best stick handlers on ice, but then the skaters from the ice were always the best skaters on wheels. So I think definitely the stick handling ability crosses over to ice. Yeah.
Very cool. That's something I'd like to see more of. Me and Dan have talked about it. Just more professional players in the United States or across the world that play ice, maybe taken when they're off season from ice, playing some more roller.
Yeah, and I know Patrick Maroon has done it quite a few times. Yeah. I think even fairly recently, he was playing at Tours, I believe, for Tour Roadrunners.
Yeah.
So it is great to see. I mean, obviously he attracts a lot of interest wherever he plays, right? So people are going to want to go and watch because he's there, which helps promote the sport. And it would be cool if more players did that. But obviously, I guess it depends on either contractual obligations or I don't know, maybe their teams don't want them. Yeah, golf. Obviously, golf season is important.
Well, it's funny too because some of the Roadrunners guys dropped a photo, and it had Pat Maroon in it. So I'm not sure if it's just them throwing like, "Hey, it's almost a roller season," or if it's, and then I think it was Max Halverson too, or if it's like or it's, "Hey, we got Patty Maroon once he's done with the NHL and playoffs," right? I'm like, I don't know. Is this like the double thing? Like, hey, we're waiting for roller hockey to start again, or is it we're waiting for roller hockey and we got Patty Maroon again? So I don't know.
It'd be awesome to see though. I mean, some of those guys, playing. I think was it Connor Bedard was playing at some inline league.
Yeah, he plays in the NSIHL in Vancouver.
Yeah.
I've been trying to throw some on our social media account, trying to get trying to tag him in some stuff and see him either at like Wish Cup or Tours Narch or State Wars, because I don't see why he wouldn't do it.
Yeah,
that'd be huge.
Yeah,
and that could be a turning point for the sport as well, right? If a player like that kind of endorses it, that he's like what one of the top. I mean, I wouldn't say one of the top players in the NHL right now, but in a few years he certainly will be.
Yeah.
To have his endorsement would definitely go a long way for the sport.
Yeah, I mean, people say that the reason that roller hockey blew up the way it did was because of Gretzky. I mean, having that endorsement is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it when he signed for the Kings?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can you give me 3 tips for players who are looking to move up the ranks?
I think I'd say focus on, or at least consider your fitness in terms of stuff you do in the gym or like off the rink. I think watch games, because I think you learn a lot from kind of watching top level guys play. And I think just apply yourself 100% in training. When you're on the rink, focus on what you're being told, what the coach is telling you to do. Give it 100% effort, even if you're not the best player on the rink. At least if you're putting in the effort and listen to coach, and you'll get better.
Love it.
Yeah.
Last question. This one's hard.
Okay.
Do you have fun?
Of course, yeah. Even waking up early was a lot of fun, and I really appreciate, like I said before, the names you've had on the show so far have been some very high caliber names, and it's just an honor to be on the same podcast as some of those guys, and I hope your listeners enjoyed too.
Oh yeah. Hey. It's been super cool to hear about everything going over there in Asia, and everything you have going on with Wheel Hub. We wish you nothing but luck, man.
Thanks. I appreciate that. And hopefully after March 2025, I'll be able to come back on and give you an update.
Absolutely. We'd love to have you back.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Justin.
Yeah. So make sure, if you're watching, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments whether you rewatch the VOD. And if you're forechecking roller hockey, don't let up, because there's no offsides. I'm Dan Dean.
I'm Justin Wood.
Dom, thanks for joining us so early in the morning. We appreciate you.
You're welcome. Thanks, guys.
Yep. Thank you.
Have a great day.
You.
Thanks.
No offside.